Hey guys, this is Devin Wunsch with the Hunting Machinist YouTube channel. Today we are in the machine shop and we are going to be boring out these big 60-pound steel impellers. They get welded up in the welding shop. You can see there's some big old weld beads on there. Lots of heat gets put into these parts, and then at the very end we're going to be boring out those bores to a precise size. 2-inch 7/16 is what we're shooting for. That's the size of the shaft that's going in there. So we're going to machine that hole out to just a little bit over that, give us some room for that shaft. Getting the tools put in here, that's my locating pin. 1/2-inch pin, that's going to help me locate that part to where I need it to be before I machine. And that's my 2-inch 7/16 boring bar. It's about 7 inches long or so. Here comes that pin, and that's that locating spud that gets put into that bore before machining. That pin's going to come down, and that's just going to help me keep everything in line. I have an X0, Y0 coordinate right at the center of that bore, and that spud and pin is going to help me get right into that spot. That hole's 5 thou bigger than that pin, so it gives me just a little bit of room to locate that where I need. If it gets stuck and doesn't slide how I want it to, I'm beating on that impeller, moving it around just a little bit until I get it to where I need it to be. Make sure that spud gets pulled out of there, or that is gonna be a bad time in that machine. Here comes the boring bar. This is spinning at just under 1,000 RPM, and then it's going to be machining at, I think, 2.5 inches per minute or so. Just walking that down, making sure my tool heights and work offset are all good to go before I start. And that's just going to slowly bore that hole. And then I need to be about 1/2 thou to 1.5 thou bigger than 7/16 on that hole. So I'll machine it once, and then I'll get the probe in there, have it measure it for me. And then depending on what number I get, I'll have to rerun it, different feeding speeds, or adjust that boring bar just slightly to open that hole up to where I need to be. As you can see, I'm a little bit under, so I'll rerun that part a couple more times until I'm about 438 is where I need to be. But there's a finished part. There's that shaft. Sliding in nice, not catching on anything, not wiggling around too much, no slop in there. That is a good part. Now we're getting it pulled out of the machine, getting all cleaned up. Time to deburr, get all those sharp edges out of there. I got my boy Aztec Caesar coming in and plugging his YouTube channel. Go check him out. And now it's time to deburr. Just get all those sharp edges out of there. That's just a deburr knife. Any part that comes out of the machine is going to be nice and sharp, and it's part of the job to make sure that's not going to cut anybody in the assembly process. Getting the outside of that bore, and then a different tool to get that keyway. Make sure there's nothing in there that's going to get hung up on any moving parts. That one's done. Time for the next one. Yeah, this part's definitely one of the most time consuming. A lot goes into these parts. Getting it prepped for the next one, making sure there's no welding slag on the bottom. It's gonna throw me off in locating that next one. Make sure that spud fits nice in the next part. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more machining content, just follow along and there'll be more jobs coming through the shop. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.
If you like the hat, check out webwestern.com. They're good looking. This is the duck line camo. Quite fitting for being out at the duck line. But check them out. They have some sweet stuff.